Hey, so somebody left me a comment a few weeks ago on a video where I think I was talking about how, I think the topic of this video was, or some content in the video was about how a lot of the time you feel a desire for something that is not actually coming from you. So like your upbringing or your religious background or your parents or the society or something has instilled in you that you must have something or you're not right, and so that sort of becomes confused. So it becomes an obligation for you in your mind. I have to attain this thing in order to be okay, whatever that means to you. And so it's an obligation. It's something I must do. And you confuse that with something that you want to do. That was the topic, or I'm pretty sure that was what this comment was responding to, if I recall correctly, which I may not, but it doesn't matter because that's what this video is going to be about. So the comment was, a video on like how to differentiate between those things would be great because I don't know. And so the starting point is asking yourself that question about the thing you want. And this is generally, I think you can generally find these in areas where you can't get the thing you want, or you've gotten the thing you want and you're still miserable. That's where I think it's, you can look at that desire, you can look at that experience in your life and just ask yourself honestly and try to be honest with yourself. Was this something that I feel came from me, or is this something that I feel came from society or mom or whatever, or my religious background or whatever, Is this something that I really want? When I look at this thing, being this thing, having this thing, whatever, is that something that I feel inside like, yeah, I really want that? Or is that something where I kind of have a sinking feeling like, I think for women with physical beauty and all of that stuff, I think for a lot of us, there's some desire in there to be like healthy and stuff like that. But the vast majority of anything having to do with appearance is being driven by obligation or something outside, or maybe by biology even. I don't know, but a desire coming from biology is, I think, almost the epitome of something that is not coming from you. It's coming from the ultimate 3D external source, which is your body. It's really hard to think of your body as anything other than you, but it too is just a form in the world. So I think the first step to figuring out what you really want is to ask yourself those questions about everything that is missing. I think for a lot of people, there's basic stuff like wanting enough resources to be comfortable. But beyond a certain point, the desire for money and stuff like that gets muddy. I think everybody wants to feel secure. But beyond all that, I think in order to really know what your true desires are, you have to start to embrace a certain philosophy. And the philosophy is the things that you want in the 3D world are wanted from the perspective of existing within an illusion. And the illusion is that the 3D world is going to reliably and consistently and fully create a certain feeling in you. I think you have to really embrace that you're trying to manifest a feeling, not an external reality. The only reason you want the external reality is because it produces a feeling, or you imagine it will produce a feeling. This all becomes a lot more understandable when you get something big, which you may have already experienced this, and maybe you didn't realize this as you experienced it. I think this becomes a lot more easy to understand experientially when you manifest something big and it simply doesn't provide what you thought it would. Maybe you get, this is like, I made manifest in my reality, let's just put it that way, my ideal physical form. And I expected it to do everything. I thought it was going to, I really believed this even when I was like 38 years old. I believed it was going to resolve 90% of my problems in life. And while I while I think in some ways it was good, I was going to say better. I think there was some benefit to it, certainly. I thoroughly enjoyed going shopping for clothing. And I really liked the way I felt physically just walking around. Like my body felt really good. But there was so much else I thought it was going to do, and it didn't do any of that stuff, which really sucked a lot. Like, you know, it just revealed to me how overblown anything that you can create in the 3D world is. Because all of the things that you want are there to attempt to correct illusions. The things you want are mostly made up of the false belief that they are going to dispel an illusion that you're going to still be existing in even when you get those things. So the unsatisfying answer to the question of how do I differentiate is, I would say, shift your focus entirely away from the things you think you want and put it on, or make the intention, you know, dispel the illusion. I want to fully understand that my experience is nearly, 100% within my control. And that the things I'm trying to create in the outer world, I'm trying to create because I want a certain inner experience that only I have control over. And that manifesting these external 3D things that I want is only going to provide me with a little tiny drop. It's going to be a little bit of a crutch. Maybe it'll be great for a day, but it's not going to resolve my inner dissatisfaction that I feel because I'm living in an illusion. The only thing that's going to resolve that is dispelling the illusion. And that is not done by creating things in the 3D world. That is done by having major shifts in perspective in nearly every area of your life, probably, which is a lot more exciting than it sounds. But one of the, I think, sort of tragic things that happens with people is, so the thing that they want to manifest in the 3D is going to do like 10% of what they think it will. And so they get the thing, it does 10% of what they think it will. And then instead of recognizing, I gave this thing way too much importance, they say, I didn't get the right thing. This thing that I manifested isn't the right thing because it's not doing enough for me. So I need to go chase another thing or whatever. I got this thing, I'll keep this thing, but now I got to shift my, I still wasn't fulfilled internally. So it must not have just been the relationship that was going to do it. Now I got to get this like title at work, or I got, whatever. I got to get jacked. I got to be like in perfect shape. And then everything will be, it's like, it moves to something else. And it always does that until you embrace the truth, which is that it's all an illusion, that it's going to do that for you. Anything is going to fulfill you in the outer world. It's sad. That's, I think, tragic in a way. That a lot of people are just sort of like in this vicious cycle that will never end for them in this life, which obviously is not going to be anybody who's watching this right now, because I think people that are open to this idea are already too far gone in a good way to go back to just being asleep, essentially, which is what that is. But yeah, I wish I had like a technique or some quick way to know what's what. But I think that it's just, like everything else, trying to, figure out what's your real desire versus what's not. If you don't already have that sort of core thing in place where you already have like started to think about and embrace nothing out here being what's going to fulfill you, I think, you know, it's like putting the cart before the horse or something. It's like, like anything else, like everything else, in my approach, solve the cause, don't treat the symptom. You'll know what your real desires are when you're oriented to the world correctly. So focus on orienting yourself to the world correctly. Make your overall focus the core of everything, not the offshoots of everything, which I know can be like, that's a really tall order. It's not just like, oh, just do that. But, you know, if you know that that's what you need to be doing, that's enough for now. Like, it can be really difficult. Like if you run into a 3D world situation, or like you're trying to pay bills, you know, you're trying to like, or you're lonely, and it's like, you're not just going to stop being lonely overnight. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to resolve everything that's underlying with you that is causing you to have a desire for a partner or something. And, you know, we're human, and there's that natural drive for that type of thing. So it's hard to just like drop the things that you want in the world. And I don't even know if that makes any sense to even try to do that. But, you know, if you kind of install this overall thing underneath all of those desires, it changes everything a little bit, and it helps, and it puts you on a path. It puts you on a path. And you want to get on that path as soon as possible. So I think that's my answer to that. Get on the path to understanding the true importance of the things of the world. And just the way you do that is by intending for it. It's that simple. It's express an interest in it. You know what? Maybe that's a better way. I think, like, I'm always talking about intentions, like everybody in the world, you know, the words mean the same thing to everybody, or that anybody even knows what the hell I mean when I say that. Express a genuine interest out into the ether in moving in a certain direction. Intention would kind of be like expressing interest and saying, I'm going to do that. Also, like that little thing in the back, this is going to happen. Sort of like that thing where you're just like, we're doing this. But, you know, sometimes that's even a little bit much. So just, it's, you know, expressing an interest is kind of just like opening your mind. And especially if something feels scary, I think it's safer to just sort of open a little bit and express. Just say, well, I'm willing to see, like, I'm willing to see if this is true. I'm willing to have a few understandings about this. You know, I still think that, you know, I'm supposed to do X, Y, and Z here in the world, and this all kind of sounds like bullshit, or I don't like that I'm resistant to the idea of this thing I think is very important actually not being important, because I can't see how it could not be important. You know, just like in those areas, just saying, well, look, I'm open to hearing something, you know, open to something changing my mind about that a little bit. I'm open to, if I need to let that thing go, it happening over, you know, a period of time that I'm comfortable with, in a way that I'm comfortable with. So, you know, you can kind of set the term, like, you don't really have much of a choice but to set the terms, I think, for what you're willing to experience, because you'll just shut it out otherwise. So you might as well sort of dictate, in a way, what you're willing to have happen. But try to be willing to have something happen for you, a shift in the way you're looking at things. That's all you really need to do. So, just to like try to recap in a less winding sort of way, if you're trying to figure out what of the things that you have that you can't get, like or that aren't working, the areas of your life that aren't working, if you're trying to look at those and say, okay, I know there's some things in here that probably aren't mine, you know, there's probably some resistance in here because I'm trying to manifest somebody else's desire, not mine. And you can't really figure it out just from sort of going down that road mentally. Then I would say drop that thing that you don't understand, or shelve it, put it to the side. Don't try to understand it if you don't. And just sort of shift your attention to, I want to understand something else. I want to understand the importance of these things. I want to understand how 90% of my experience is going to be coming from me anytime it's 100%, but there will only be, you know, I'm only going to get 10% of this illusion to work for me. The other 90% is going to be me and how I'm oriented to the world, and and how I naturally feel day to day based on my mentality and all of that. This thing isn't going to bring me security in an insecure world. Only a shift in the way I think and feel is going to bring that to me. Intending to get to that point, to start driving at that thing. It's kind of in the opposite direction of the things of the world. It's kind of turning away from those. So especially with things that aren't working, I think the best thing sometimes is just to like drop them completely as much as you can. Just go with the status quo for a while. If you can do anything rational to improve your situation a little bit, you know, like if you're lonely and you don't have a partner, you're broke and you're struggling for bills, if there's like some minor shit you can do, like just don't spend any discretionary money for a little while, maybe. Or just like, you know, come up with, like, if you're lonely, just say, okay, for the next week, I'm going to do these 5 things that I like to do. I'm going to like plan a week for myself that is like fun. I want to watch this TV show. I'm going to do that this night or whatever. Just like make a little plan and just drop it so you can just like put it aside for a brief period of time. I'm not going to, for 1 week, I can afford not to think about this. And then just kind of turn your attention towards sort of the more deep, like the deeper stuff that will actually end up rearranging things in your mind in a positive way. I just really don't feel like that. I don't really feel like that was a sufficient answer to that question, but it's the best that I could do. I think the thing to always do is to try to address the core issue, which is that I'm living in an illusion, and the things that I think I want right now are steeped in illusion. And there's probably some element of most of the things I want that is real, because I'm here in human form, and, you know, there is value, I think, to be gotten from experiences in the physical world if you're coming from the right place mentally. So they're not just worthless, but I really think if you don't start going towards that deeper inner dispelling of illusion, you're just screwed forever, because it's just a hamster wheel until you get off of it. And it's, you know, it's a very, I think, difficult illusion for a lot of people to break out of. It's like, you know, I don't know. This is a big challenge of being here. There's a lot of challenges in this experience, and this is one of the biggest, scariest ones. And, you know, I personally could not handle any of this for like 20 years after I even started getting introduced to the ideas. So I'm speaking from experience on how terrifying it is. In my own personal experience, I mean, the idea of the things I thought I wanted when I was 22 not being what I was going to experience, or like I was like this dream I had of this, you know, all of these 3D external things falling into place and producing this perfect happiness. The idea that wasn't going to happen was absolutely devastating, to the point that I just said, you know what? I prefer to think this idea is bullshit, made up by some lunatic who couldn't get what they wanted, and I'm just going to go ahead and go get what I wanted. And that's basically what I did, and it did not produce, I mean, it just ended up being true, that happiness was not going to come from the 3D external world. It's just, and that's not a bad thing. It's not, it seems like a bad thing though. And you know what, when it seems like a bad thing, there's no, I don't think, convincing you that it's not. That's something I think some people just have to go through and get on their own. But I don't know, you know, these ideas getting in there helps, I think. Reading a lot of A Course in Miracles when I was like 22 definitely implanted a few very helpful things that helped me a lot over the next 20 years. And then it was waiting there for me when I wanted to, you know, when I had had enough and had more, you know, had kind of like built up the courage that I was just, it did not stand a chance when I was 22. You know, it was there and it was good. And so a lot of people, I think, that watch my channel are ready for this idea, are already well into this idea. But I know there are a lot of people that are just stumbling on it, or that are just lurking, sort of, that I've never spoken to or have never commented or whatever. And this is for them. Like, this is for you. It's for everybody. But this idea is for everybody. but just like entertain it for a moment. If it's horrible, let it go. It's not a bad thing. It just seems like a bad thing. It's actually a great thing, because the only place where true peace and happiness and joy and everything exists in a permanent kind of way is outside of these illusions. So that's the best I could do this morning. I think I mentioned at the beginning of this that I'm in like a food coma today from that meal last night. The beginning of this video feels like it was like 2 hours ago for me. I'm in a time warp. One of the things that I am really looking forward to getting to in A Course in Miracles, and I'm trying not to force it, I'm not like searching for it, is the Course in Miracles stuff about time and collapsing time and everything, which I kind of get. You know, if you have the Course in Miracles defines a miracle as a shift in perception, and you know, I and you, I think, are already pretty familiar with the idea of shifting perception, changing self-concept, wildly changing your future timeline, essentially. You know, if you changed, your future is completely different than if you didn't change. And so it makes sense that that would collapse time in a way, so that, you know, a change in perception basically avoids God knows how long you would have had to go through experiencing life until you came upon that perception change on your own naturally through, you know, human experience. Did that make any sense? I really like that idea that basically an intentional perception shift can just like remove 1,000 years of life that you would have had to live in order to, you know, naturally come upon certain shifts in perspective. I love that, and I can't wait until that starts coming up. I've been reading through some of the workbook lessons, and I don't just want to go through them all. I haven't found anything again yet that I wanted to really read that felt, I don't know, just didn't feel right. But I have to go let this, like, this, just the sheer sodium intake of this event last night. Like, my brain isn't even working. I need to go drink like 14 Gatorades. And then anyway, so I'm sure this like wasn't coherent, but I'm making a video on this channel every day this year, and I bet there was one thing in here that could have helped somebody. So I'm going to post it and hope for the best. I hope that it helped anybody and didn't confuse that commenter further. The answer basically to every question is dispel the illusion. Once you dispel the illusion, you will see clearly. And the best way to start dispelling the illusion is to intend to dispel the illusion. Be courageous enough to express an interest, at least, out into the ether. I am ready to dispel the illusion, or I'm interested in knowing what that means. I'm interested in more information about dispelling the illusion. It all begins with an intention, and general intentions, when you don't really know what to do, they will take you right to the right place. You don't, you know, there's like so much, if you can start to use this thing, this intention tool, it's amazing. Like, you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, you're never clueless. There's never like a question. You just know that if you don't have the information, you intend to get it. That's all you have to do. But it's like a habit. It's like developing a habit of relying on that thing all the time, or whenever, like remembering that you have that. That's challenging. All right, have a great day.